Hi guys, it's Kristen with Hooks, Books, and Wanderlust, and I am here today with a video for my Marigold Mandala. I'm going through older patterns and trying to update videos or create videos for some of the trickier parts of my older patterns, and first up is the Marigold Mandala. So this mandala features in the Marigold Market Bag as well as my Marigold Boho coasters. I'm not going to be going over the full patterns. I'm just going to show you how to crochet the mandala portion of those patterns so that you know what to do if you want to make either of those patterns. I will link them for you in the description below for you so that you can refer to those if you need to look up the hook size and yardage and what type of yarn and all that fun stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start our mandala. To begin our Marigold Mandala, we are going to start with a magic circle or adjustable ring or whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to go over it kind of quickly here, but I do have a more in-depth tutorial for you if you need it, and I'll link that in the description box below for you as well. But I make mine in a bit of a non-traditional method. So I've got my yarn end, I've got my working yarn, and I am going to loop my working yarn over my yarn tail, and then so that the working yarn lays on top of that tail, and then fold that working yarn underneath my loop, and then insert my hook under that loop just for that little working, and grab my working yarn and just pull it a little bit. Then I'm going to hold it at the twist. Well, let me grab my working yarn here, and then I'll hold it at the twist and chain one. And now I'm ready to start my first round of stitches. So for round one, it says chain two, and you're going to work a 3 double crochet cluster all the way around. So I've already chained one, I've got my chain two. So I'm going to 3 double crochet cluster. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the magic ring and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, just like I'm making a regular double crochet. But I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to make another half formed double crochet. Same way. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to do this one more time because it's a 3 double crochet cluster. Pull through 2. So once you have your 3 half formed double crochets on your hook, you'll have 4 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1 to close your cluster. So for round one, we're going to do that 5 more times. So we'll have a total of 6 clusters. If you need to pull that yarn tail a little tighter, make your little magic ring a little closer, then do that. And we're just going to keep continuing on with our cluster. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Do that 3 times for 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. Do that one more time for you. So we've got our 3 half-formed double crochets, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, and chain 1. So I'm going to complete the other 3 clusters while you do the same thing, and I'll meet you back here at the end of the round to join. Okay, so I have just finished my final cluster and my chain 1, and now I am going to join my round because we are working in joined rounds for this mandala. I'm going to join to the top of my first cluster. So the first thing I want to point out to you is because you have your cluster and then you have your chain 1, make sure you're going into the top of that cluster. And just slip stitch to join it and close the round. Once you've done that, go ahead and pull on your yarn tail to close that gap. You might have to tug on that a couple more times as you work your first few rounds, but tugging on that will close up that little gap. Looks all pretty. And we are ready for round 2. So for round 2, we are going to chain 1. And then we are going to double or half double crochet 2 half double crochets into the cluster and 2 half double crochets into the chain 1 space all the way around. So again, we've got the top of our cluster and then we've got the chain 1. So we're going to be working into both of those. We're going to work half double crochets increases, or 2 half double crochets into each one. So there's 1 and 2 into the top of the cluster stitch. And then we're going to find that chain 1 space, that gap between our clusters right there. You can kind of see it there. And we're going to work into that gap another 2 half double crochets. And we're just going to continue doing that around. So now we're going to go back into that top of the cluster. 1, 2, and then into the chain 1 space again. Oops, forgot to yarn over. There we go. 1 and 2. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around, and we'll join to the top of the very first half double crochet of the round to close it, or to join our round. So I'm going to complete round 2 while you do the same thing, and I'll meet you back here for round 3. All right, so at the end of round 2, you should have 24 half double crochets. You do want to make sure that you go back and count those, because when you are working in the round with a lot of different stitch multiples and different rounds, it's really, really important to make sure that you have the correct number of stitches at the end of each round. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to count and make sure you have 24 stitches in round 2. When you're done with that, if your gap here has opened back up, just tug on that yarn tail again to close that back up, nice and tight, and we are ready to begin round 3. So for round 3, we are going to create some chain 2 spaces for us to play with. So we're going to start with a chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into that very first stitch, the one at the base of our chain 1 there. So single crochet, chain 2, and skip the next stitch, skip 1. You're going to single crochet into the next one, chain 2, you're going to skip 1, single crochet next, and you're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. Single crochet, chain 2, skip 1, repeat. So when you're done with this round, after you finish your final chain 2, you will slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round to join your round. You'll want to count and make sure that you have 12 single crochets and 12 chain 2 spaces. And then we will be ready to start round 4. So finish up, and I will see you back here for round 4. Okay, so I'm at the end of round 3. I have just finished my last repeat of the single crochet chain 2, skip 1, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch to join my round by slip stitching into the top of that very first single crochet. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you have 12 single crochets and 12 chain 2 spaces for this round. Now we are ready to begin round 4. So go ahead and chain 3, and that is going to act as a double crochet. And then for this round repeat, what we're going to do is we are going to work 4 double crochets into this first chain 2 spot. Not into the chains, just into the space. Makes it a little easier that way. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. We're going to skip this single crochet, and we're going to work another 4 double crochets into the chain 4 space, or into the chain 2 space, and we're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. Easy peasy. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can kind of see what that's starting to look like. Go ahead and keep repeating that all the way around until you come to that final chain 2 space, and I will meet you right back there. Okay? Okay, so I have reached the final chain 2 space. Now, this is where in the pattern you might not understand, and it might come in handy seeing this on the video. Because that first chain 3 that we made counts as a double crochet, we're only going to work 3 double crochets into this final chain 2 space, because that first chain 3 is going to act as our final 4th double crochet in that space, if that makes sense. So go ahead and work 3 double crochets into that last chain 2 space. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and find that 3rd chain right here. So 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to slip stitch to join at the top of your chain 3. So just sometimes that's a little tricky. So just work your hook in there 1 loop at a time if you have to, and slip stitch to join. And so that will leave you, again, counting your chain 3 as a double crochet. You will now have, you can do a visual check here to make sure you have 4 in each of your chain 2 spaces, but you should have 48 double crochets in this round. So make sure you count, make sure you've got 48, and then we can move on to round 5. Okay, so for round 5, it's going to look very similar to round 3 with a couple of little modifications. So in round 3, we did chain 2 spaces, but in round 5, we are going to do chain 4 spaces. But also in round 5, we are going to do something kind of a special little trick to make sure that we end our round in the middle of a chain 4 space. So to get started, we are going to go ahead and chain 1. And you're just going to go ahead and work a single crochet into that very first stitch, which is, again, the top of your chain 3 from the previous round. And then you're going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll notice that you have, from round 4, you have little groupings of 4 double crochets in each of those chain 2 spots, right? The easiest way to, and the quickest way to complete this round is to just remember that you are going to single crochet into the 4th or the final double crochet of each of those groupings. So you single crocheted, chain 4, skip the first 3, and then single crochet into that 4th double crochet. And then keep repeating that all the way around. Skip these 3, and then into that 4th double crochet. Pretty simple. You're going to keep doing this all the way around until you get to the very last grouping of 4, and meet me back here and I'll show you that trick. All right, so we have made it back around. I've got my final grouping of 4 double crochets that I'm about to work. And like I said, for this round, we want to make sure that we end our round in the center of a chain 4 space. And the way we're going to do that is, instead of chaining 4 for our final grouping here, we are going to chain 2. And then to join our round, instead of using a slip stitch, we're going to double crochet into the first single crochet of our round. And what that's going to do is it's going to leave our hook perfectly positioned in the center of that space. So this double crochet that we're working here is going to count as the last 2 chains, as well as join our round. And now we are ready to begin round 6. So for round 6, you're going to chain 1 and single crochet into that chain 4 space. I'm still going to call it a chain 4 space even though it's got a double crochet in it because that's what it is. All right, so then you are going to, really quickly before we get too much farther, make sure that you have 12 chain 4 spaces all the way around. Again, counting at the end of each round is super important. So once you verify that you've got 12, you're good to go ahead and make your single crochet in the center of that chain 4 space for round 6. Okay, so we've single crocheted in that chain 4 space. Next, we are going to work a series of stitches in the next in our next stitch, which is this single crochet. All right, so we are going to work 2 double crochets, then we'll chain 2 and work another 2 double crochets, all in that single crochet stitch. All right, so 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 2, and into the same stitch, double crochet 2 more times. It's a lot for 1 stitch, but it will work, I promise. All right, and then you're going to go ahead and single crochet into that chain 4 space. And that is your round repeat. So now you're going to double crochet 2 into that same single crochet, that next single crochet, chain 2, and then into that same stitch, work 2 more double crochets. Single crochet into the chain 4 space. And just keep repeating that all the way around. No funny tricks at the end of this round. You can just join with a slip stitch to the top of that first single crochet of the round to close. So I will meet you back here at the end of this round. All right, so that is it for round 6. Now, again, you want to make sure that you have the correct number of stitches, and the easiest way you can do that is to make sure you have 12 of these little peaks. Boop, 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 boop. And make sure that you have 4 in each of those, 4 double crochets in each of those peaks. And that way you'll have 48 total double crochets, 12 total chain 2 spaces, and 12 single crochets. That's how you know that you made the right moves. Okay, so if you are making the peaks version of the boho coaster, then this is where you would tie off. You tie off, cut your yarn, and you would want to block it at these peaks to make them nice and crisp and sharp and pretty, and then you would be done. But we're going to keep going on so that I can show you how to work the rest of this mandala. So round 7 is a little bit kind of funny looking when you just start it. So bear with me and just trust the process, okay? So we are going to start with a chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now this chain 7 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 4. So the first 3 will count as our double crochet, and then we'll have the chain 4 come after it. And normally when you have a chain that counts as a stitch, you wouldn't work into it. But in this case, we are going to, all right? So we're gonna double crochet into that same stitch right there at the base of our chain 7. So it's that first single crochet of the previous round. And we're gonna get this funny loop thing. So you should have this little loop going on, all right? Then we are going to single crochet into the chain 2 space right here. to kind of hold that down. All right. And we're just going to keep, it's going to kind of repeat that process. So you're going to double crochet into the chain, into the single crochet here, chain 4, 2, 3, and 4, and then double crochet again into that same single crochet. Give yourself that silly little loop, and then you're going to secure it to the next peak with a single crochet. So you're going to end up with these little loops all the way around. Okay, so keep doing that. Double crochet into the single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and double crochet into that same single crochet. So you're only working into the single crochet and the chain 2 spots all the way around, okay? Double crochet, chain 4, double crochet all into that same single crochet from the previous round, then single crochet to the peak. Now I split my yarn there. Okay. And then you're just going to repeat that all the way around. And when you come back to the end, you are going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain that you made here at the beginning. So 1, 2, and 3. I'll show you what I mean here in just a minute. So meet me back there and I'll show you where to join, okay? Okay, so I just finished my last repeat of this round to put the single crochet into my peak here, and I'm ready to slip stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain from my beginning chain 7, because if you'll remember, the first 3 chains counted as the double crochet, and then the next 4 were the chain 4 space, right? So 1, 2, and 3, here's my 3rd chain. It kind of turned on me here, so you can see those V's now nicely. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just going to work under each of those loops so that I can slip stitch into that 3rd chain. So now I have completed round 7. And it can get a little wonky. It's okay. It's not gonna, here, I'll lay it out a little more flat. There we go. You can moosh it down and flatten it out. When we're done, the best thing that you can do sometimes is block it. Help it keep its shape. So I'm not worried about it being a little floppy right now. So for round 8, we're going to begin with a chain 1. And we are going to single crochet into the 1st stitch, which again is that chain 3, okay? So single crochet. And then you are going to work 5 single crochets into the chain 4 space. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're going to single crochet into that next double crochet. And you might have to slide some of those single crochets over across the chain there. Might have to adjust them just a little bit. And then where you have that single crochet from the previous round, you're going to slip stitch. Okay, that's just going to kind of put a nice little point on our little arches here that we've got going on. All right, so single crochet into the next double crochet, and then work 5 single crochets into that chain 4 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the double crochet, slip stitch into the single crochet. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around. And I will say that when I mess up my stitch count, it's almost always in this round. So make sure that you are counting. Make sure you are getting 5 single crochets into those chain 4 spaces. I cannot tell you how many times I just get into a rhythm and I end up making 6. So I have to go back and count and make sure I did it right. So here's the single crochet that I did in the double. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I almost did a sixth one there and I didn't want to. So make sure that you are getting the correct number of single crochets into those chain 4 spaces, okay? Because like I said, this is where you're going to want to do too many or too few. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around. And once you get to the end of this round, you can just slip stitch to the top of that very first single crochet to join your round. And I will see you back here for round 9. Okay, I just wanted to show you guys really quickly here how to finish off this round, since it's got 2 slip stitches, one that actually counts as a stitch and one that doesn't because it's just to join. So I have just finished my set of 5, and then I did my single crochet into the double crochet here. I have my single crochet left, so I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch to that. That counts for my repeat for this round and finishes my round. So now I'm ready to slip stitch to that first single crochet to join. So I'm just going to work my hook in there and slip stitch, and I am ready to start round 9. So if you are working the petals variation of the boho coaster, then this is where you would stop and tie off your work and you would be done. And you have these really pretty like little petals that you've got nicely defined. And I think it looks really nice. I usually make this variation with some thinner yarn, but again, you're going to want to refer to those patterns that I've linked below for you for all of that information. So we are going to keep continuing on, but before we do, I want you, again, because this is where I always make mistakes with my stitch count, I want you to go back and double check that stitch count, okay? You should have a total of 84 single crochets and 12 slip stitches. You're slip stitching into each of those single crochets, right? So there's 12 of those peaks, and that means you should have 12 of those slip stitches. And then you had your double crochet, 2 double crochets and a chain 4 from the previous round, and you're working single crochets into everything. So you have 1 for each of the double crochets plus 5. So that's a total of 7 single crochets per petal. That's what I'm calling it because of the coaster. So you're going to have 7 single crochets for each one of these petals. You've got 12 total. You need to go back and make sure that you have 84 single crochets for this round. All right, and then you are ready to move on to round 9. For round 9, our repeat is going to give us some shells of 8 double crochets in between the petals in the valleys here, and we're going to secure those shells to the top of each arch with a single crochet. So to get started, we're going to begin with a chain 3 that is going to count as a stitch, so that'll count as a double crochet. And it's actually going to count as the last double crochet of the shell that we will work into this valley here. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and skip the first 3 stitches. So having worked into that stitch, I'm going to go into the 4th single crochet out of the 7 that I have on each petal. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And single crochet, and then you'll skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and you'll work your first shell of 8 double crochets into that slip stitch in the valley there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, oopsies, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, again, you're going to look for that 4th or middle single crochet here, and you are going to single crochet into the top of that petal. And you're just going to keep repeating that all the way around. So you'll work another shell, that's 8 double crochet shell, Split my yarn again there. Working into that slip stitch that we have at the valley in between our petals here. I lost track of my count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Split my yarn again. 7 and 8. Sometimes it's easy when you're working a lot of stitches into a very small space like a slip stitch that the stitches might cover the next. So if you are having problems finding that very first single crochet, what you can look for is just look for the 5 that are in the chain 4 space. Find that center single crochet, and that's the one you're going to work into. So here's my 5. 1, 2, 3. There's the middle one. And I'm going to single crochet into that. So just keep repeating that all the way around. When you get to that last valley, you will work 7 double crochets into that last slip stitch, and then you'll join to the top of the chain 3 that you started this round with. So I will meet you back there so I can just show you that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next round. Okay, so I have just gotten to the end of my round and I worked 7 double crochets into this final slip stitch. And if you remember, the chain 3 at the beginning of this round, I told you was going to count as a stitch. It will act as that final double crochet in our 8 double crochet shell for this particular valley. Okay, so once you've got your 7, you're just going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 to close your round. Now, before you move on to round 10, it is extremely important for this round to make sure that you go back through and count your stitches. I know I keep saying that, it's just because it's just that true. So this is another round where I typically find myself working too many or too few double crochets in my shell. And then when I'm working round 10, I end up thrown off in my stitches. So go back through, count your double crochets, make sure that you have 8 double crochets in each one of these shells all the way around. That will give you a total of 96 double crochets, and you should have 12 single crochets in between each of those shells. All right, so go count those and then meet me back here for round 10. All right, so we are ready to begin round 10. And this round is going to be a bit of a filler round. We are going to do a variety of stitches that have differing heights so that we can kind of even out around into a circle instead of having these waves or petals or shells, okay? So to do that, we're going to work taller stitches in our valleys and then shorter stitches as we get to the top of our shells to just kind of even everything out. So to start, we are going to begin with a chain 2. That chain 2 is going to count as a half double crochet. All right. So for our repeat, and that half double crochet is going to be the last stitch of our final valley. So from here, we are going to start our repeat of double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So into that single crochet and into the next double crochet. So double crochet into each of the next 2. From here, we're going to half double into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And then we're going to single crochet 1 into the next. And then this next stitch, we're actually going to work 2 single crochets. That is a single crochet increase. All right. And then we'll have another single crochet in the next, and reverse our order by doing 2 half double crochets, so subsequent ones. So we'll do 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. And now we're ready to begin our repeat again. So we will begin with, again, we'll just do double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. half double crochet into the next 2, single crochet into the next, and then we're going to single crochet increase into the next stitch, and then we'll reverse our order. Single crochet into the next, half double into the next 2, and start again. Double crochet 2, 1 and 2, half double crochet 2, 1 and 2, single crochet 1, 2 single crochets into the next, reverse our order, single crochet, half double into the next 2, and start again. So you're just going to repeat that over and over all the way around until you get back to the beginning of your round. And at that point, when you join, you're going to join with to the top of that chain 2. All right. So I will meet you back here at the end of the round so we can see what that looks like. All right, so I have come up on my last shell of this round, or from the previous round rather. So for my final repeat of this round, I am going to go ahead and double crochet into each of the next 2, half double into the next 2 after that. Whoops, that was a double, Kristen. Single crochet, single crochet increase, so that means working 2 stitches in to the same place, single crochet 1. Now normally I would have 2 half double crochets to play still, but I have 1 stitch left, and that is because if you remember, the chain 2 from the beginning of the round counted as our final half double crochet for this shell repeat. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 half double crochet into that last stitch, and then I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of my chain 2 to close the round. So as you can see, those taller stitches in our valleys combined with the smaller stitches at the top of our shells kind of evened out and made this more circular again instead of the wavy petal shell look. So from here, you want to go ahead and make sure that you count your stitches again. You should have a total of 48 half double crochets, 24 double crochets, and 48 single crochets. So once you have that, you are ready to begin round 11. All right, so for round 11, we are going to create some more chain 4 spaces similar to what we did in some previous rounds, but they're going to look a little bit different this time simply because we have so many stitches to work over. So what we're going to do first is we need to move our hook placement from the half double where we're at currently to the top of this double crochet. We're just going to slip stitch to the top of that double crochet, and that's not going to count as a stitch. It's just moving our hook placement to where it needs to be in order to make the stitches work for this round. So go ahead and chain 1 and single crochet into the top of that double crochet from the previous round. And then you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to skip 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, which if you look carefully is actually the increase from the previous round. So when you get to the increase, you're going to single crochet into each of those stitches there. So 1 and 2. Then you're going to chain 4 again. But instead of skipping 4, you're only going to skip 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then single crochet into the first double crochet from that repeat down there. Okay, So that's what you're looking for when you're doing this. You're going to do 2 single crochets when you get to the increases and 1 single crochet when you get to that first double crochet, and chain 4s in between them. Okay, so chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Look for the increase and work single crochet into each of those. Chain 4, skip 3, single crochet into the top of that double crochet. One more time, okay? Chain 4, skip 4, single crochet into the next 2, which is that increase from the previous round. Chain 4, skip 3, and single crochet into that double crochet. You're just going to keep going like that, and then when you get back around to the beginning, you're just going to slip stitch to that first single crochet of the round to join. So I will see you back here for round 12. All right, so if you finished round 11, I do recommend that you go back through, of course, and count your stitches. You should have a total of 24 chain 4 spaces all the way around, and then a total of 36 single crochets all the way around. So if you verify that that is what you have, you are ready to move on to round 12. So we are going to begin round 12 with a chain 1, and we are going to single crochet 5 stitches into this chain 4 space. Okay, so 5 single crochets into that first chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When you come to the next 2 single crochets, you're going to work a single crochet decrease over those 2 stitches. And the way you do that is you insert your hook into the first stitch and pull up a loop. Then you're going to insert your hook into the second stitch and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook, and just yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Then you're going to work another 5 single crochets into this next chain 4 space. So far, this isn't too different from previous chain 4 experiences. Make sure I have 5 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now once you've worked 5 into that chain 4 space and you come upon this single crochet here, you're just going to slip stitch into that. And then you're going to repeat those same stitches all the way around. So one more time. 5 single crochets into this first chain 4 space. 3, 4, and 5. Work a decrease over the next 2 single crochets. So insert your hook into the first stitch and pull up a loop. Insert your hook into the second stitch, pull up another loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Then go ahead and work another 5 single crochets into that next chain 4 space. 4 and 5, and then you come to that single crochet, you're just going to slip stitch into it and keep repeating. So the difference here at the end of this round, you're not going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet of this round. You're going to slip stitch, you're going to end your round with a slip stitch into a single crochet from the previous round, and we're just going to end there because that's where we're going to set up for our next round. So I will meet you back at the end just to show you what I'm talking about there, and then we can be finished with round 11 or round 12. So I'm working on that last chain 4 space here. I've got 2 single crochets. I'm just going to finish out my 5, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And my last slip stitch of the round goes into that single crochet from the previous round. Normally, I would have you slip stitch to the first stitch of this round to close it, but I'm not going to have you do that this time because we need to end with our hook in this position for the beginning of round 13. So at this point, I want you to go ahead, and you know the drill by now, go ahead and count those stitches, okay? You should have 5 single crochets in each of these chain 4 spaces all the way around. That would leave you with a total of 120 single crochets. And then you're going to have 12 single crochet decreases worked at each of these junctures here where you had those increases. And you will have 12 slip stitches worked at each of those single crochets from the previous round, okay? So once you have verified that, we are ready to begin round 13. All right, we are ready to begin our last round of our mandala. So we are going to start with a chain 1. Our first several stitches are all going to be worked into this slip stitch from the previous round. In this case, because the way we ended this round, I'm actually going to work it into the single crochet. It's just going to make it a little easier. So I am going to do a single crochet, a half double, I'm going to chain 2 and reverse it. So half double and then a single. It's going to give me this cute little diamond shaped pointy thing here, decorative element. And then after that, I'm going to skip the next 2 stitches. Now keep in mind that sometimes, like I mentioned before, when you're working a lot of stitches into the same location, those stitches might cover up your next stitch. So make sure you are getting the correct, you're skipping the correct stitches. So 1 and 2, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and we're going to single crochet increase into the next one. That means work 2 single crochets into this next stitch. So 1 and 2. Then we're going to skip 2 again, 1 and 2. And into this decrease here, we are going to work that same sequence of stitches again, all into that decrease, okay? So single crochet, half double, chain 2, half double, single crochet. All right. Again, you're going to skip 2, so make sure you're skipping the correct one. It's a little easier when you're working into the decreases than it is into the slip stitches. I think if you're going to mess up which stitches you skip, it's probably going to be around one of the slip stitches that you're working into. So just be mindful of that, okay? So we're going to skip the next 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to put another increase into the next stitch after that. So single crochet 2 stitches into that same stitch. We will skip the next 2 and then just start all over again. So skip 2 and then we're going to work that same series of stitches. So single crochet, half double, chain 2, half double, single crochet, all into that slip stitch from the previous round. Skip 2, 1, 2, and then increase here. So single crochet 2 single crochets into that stitch, skip 2, and repeat that same single crochet, half double, chain 2, reverse it, half double, if I can get my hook through that last loop, and a single crochet. And that is your repeat for this round. So you're just going to keep going all the way around, repeating that same thing. And then once you get to the end, you can slip stitch to the very first single crochet of the round to join. All right, so I will meet you back here at the end of this round. All right, yay, you did it. That is the end of round 13. That is our final round of the mandala. From here, if you are going to continue on to keep making the market bag, obviously you do not want to tie off, but if you are not making that market bag, if instead you want to turn this into a dream catcher or a circle bag, or maybe sew this onto the front of a pillowcase for a decorative pillow, whatever you choose to do, there are so many possibilities. You can go ahead and tie off your work. I will say make sure you count your stitches first. Make sure you've got 24 of these pretty little peaks all the way around. That's going to make for a total of 96 single crochets, 48 half double crochets, and 24 chain 2 spaces for this round. Then once you have verified you have the correct count, go ahead and tie off and you are done, my friend. If you feel like it and you're going to leave it like this, I would recommend blocking it at each of these chain 2 spots all the way around, just to kind of make everything nice and crisp and sharp. I think that'll help really make it look really extra professional and really nice. And before we go, I am once again going to link the patterns for the market bag and the boho coasters in the description box below, along with the more in-depth tutorials for those special stitches that we featured in the mandala. So if you have any questions about the stitches, about how to work something, have any problems, don't hesitate to leave a comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Until the next video, I will catch you guys then. See ya.